All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA show. So, what I'm going to talk about today is rebounds in relationships, or when breakups happen, divorces, all these different types of things. I don't talk a lot about this subject necessarily. On my Mastering Self-Confidence program where I try to help men find the woman or women of their dreams, even through a bad breakup or divorce, I kind of touch upon it, but I don't get that caught up in it. But I heard something yesterday, and it was a movie that I saw like 20-something years ago. Sliding Doors, I think, with Gwyneth Paltrow. She was in this. And, they say a funny line in there, two guys, and they're talking about rebounds, like she's on a rebound or whatever. And then somebody says, "Isn't everyone on the rebound?" And it kind of struck a chord with me because a lot of times I think with people, if you've been in a relationship, let's say, and now you're not, you're on the rebound. Now, you may not, a lot of people be like, no, rebound's real quick. It's after a certain amount of time, right? I don't know if that's necessarily the case, because I think everybody emotionally carries on a different thing, I guess you could say. Some can get over certain things quicker than others, right? Some people never can get over certain things. But if you've been in a relationship, right, and it ended, you're kind of on the rebound. And I actually just had this conversation with somebody, an old friend of mine. We went out to eat and we were talking about something like this. And he was talking about going on apps and websites. And he kept saying, man, everybody's on the rebound so fast and this and that. And I understood where it was coming from, kind of to a certain degree. But I'm looking at him saying, a lot of times when we say things, it's about us more or less than it is everyone else. So he's also kind of not even realizing that he's the one in the rebound too. He's only kind of looking at other women or people he's meeting up with going, look at this, she's on the rebound, or that one's on the rebound, look at this. Not necessarily, again, looking at himself and his behavior after relationships end. And a lot of times, in my opinion, I think a lot of people go into relationships too quickly after one ending. Again, that's my opinion. I am all about finding the right one, if that's what you want to do. But I'm also all about taking as much time as needed to do that. And I don't think a lot of people, especially after breaking up or going through a divorce, date enough people. I think a lot of people get wrapped up, say, previously with being married or in a long-term relationship, maybe living with somebody, and then all of a sudden they're single, and they don't want that identity of being single, right? Especially if they're older and all their friends were married still, or they're all in relationships or things are going on. Now you're kind of the odd man or woman out. You don't want to be that a lot of times. Some do, but a lot I don't think necessarily do. They want to get into another relationship, maybe too quickly. And I think a lot of times they're afraid to date multiple people because of maybe the way they'll look to others when it's actually nobody else's business. But they'll date only a few people maybe, or not enough people. They won't put enough time or effort into it. But I also think, too, after some breakups, with some people, they're devastated. And they wait too long. So, it's 1 year, I'm going to take a break, or nothing seems to be going my way, and they're hurt or whatever, and then it's 2 years before you know it, it's a decade. And it can even go longer and longer. And before you know it, like what you thought was going to kind of be a short amount of time to find, or a certain amount of time to maybe end up with someone else, you go on for very long periods of time. And I think we kind of also get set in our ways then. But back to the rebound. I just think people have to take, again, an honest approach to having patience with other people if you think they're on the rebound. Because a lot of people are on the rebound, even if you're not. And it's hard. And again, taking your time to figure out if this is the right person for you or not. Not only should you have patience with yourself, but you need to have patience with others, because sometimes that may be a great person, but you right now caught them at a bad time. And you may be one of those people too, where you met somebody, maybe you're on the rebound again, or however you want to classify it, or you broke up with somebody and things, you're just not in the right frame of mind to be in a relationship. It may be finances, emotional, it may be all these different types of things. And I've been in those situations where I've dated somebody after someone else, and my behavior kind of sucked because of what I went through previously, and it dragged on. And I think a lot of us do that as well. Or we're still kind of caught up with the past relationship, even though we don't want to admit it. Or we're just kind of now we flip it, and now we kind of play it off like we don't give a shit about relationships, when deep down inside you kind of do. You are lonely. You don't necessarily maybe like where you're at that point in time, but you're kind of just closing your emotions off, saying who gives a shit, and kind of blaming, a lot of other situations for the situation that you're in, and not kind of just accepting that maybe in the relationships you were in previously, a lot of the problems were because of you, not just the other person. So just wanted to do a podcast on this very quickly. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to hit me up. It's at masteringselfconfidence.com. I'm richcelenza.com, and take your time. I talk about it all the time, especially if you've gone through a divorce. I took like a year off. I'm not kidding. I had 2 daughters, but maybe not an entire year, but just I needed to clear my mind because I was in a relationship for so long and married for a substantial amount of time. And then when you kind of get divorced, you're like, all of a sudden you can feel very free, and then you're kind of also kind of hurt too. I think all of us kind of have gone through that. You're kind of embarrassed, but you're actually on the other end like, wow, I can kind of start over now too, which is kind of nice too. There's strengths and weaknesses across the board, but take your time. And I think even if you start dating somebody, just let it breathe, man. I'm telling you, so many people try to rush into relationships. And also, even if you're with somebody, you start having sex with them quickly or whatever, then all of a sudden you think you're in a relationship with them and they're not necessarily feeling it, then you kind of feel used, or if you get dumped or ghosted or whatever, and then you're upset on that. Like, just take it for what it's worth and just learn to grow. But grow, if you look at a lot of things in life, man, when they're rushed, a lot of times it's just not as good as when something really, you take your time to develop it and let it evolve. So that's all I got for you. Take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.